Welcome back to another explainer. Let's jump right in, because today we're unpacking something absolutely fascinating. We're looking at how the non-literal meaning of your daily vocabulary can actually alter your reality. We usually just think of the words we use, our internal monologue, our everyday chat, as just, well, descriptions of how we're feeling at the moment. But what if they're actually the programming code for your entire future? It sounds wild, but once you start to think of the text other than the literal meaning, everything shifts. Let's dive in and see exactly how changing your internal script changes your entire life. So let's start with a feeling I think a lot of us can relate to. Have you ever just completely dreaded going to work? Feeling that sheer physical and emotional agony of the daily grind? Well, back in the mid-1980s, that was the everyday reality for a burned-out 30-year-old lawyer named Jeff Keller. The crazy thing is, he had achieved his lifelong goal of becoming an attorney, but he was absolutely miserable. We're talking chronic headaches, a constantly churning stomach, and just feeling spiritually completely drained. He literally looked decades older than he was. Why? Because his internal script was constantly telling his body and mind that his life was just this endless, miserable grind. And that brings us to the source material for this explainer. We're diving into Jeff Keller's amazing book, Attitude is Everything. Keller somehow managed to turn his whole situation around. He went from being this deeply depressed lawyer to a highly successful motivational speaker and author. And the secret sauce? He figured out how completely rewriting his own internal narrative could change his life. Section 1. The Dirty Window. Let's take a look at the foundational lens through which we view our daily lives and how it gets totally obscured without us even noticing. Picture your attitude as a literal mental window. When we're kids, right, this window starts out squeaky clean. Think about a toddler learning to walk. They fall down, they laugh, they get right back up, and they try again. No big deal. But as we grow up, that window inevitably gets splattered by the dirt of life. It gets smudged by criticism from a teacher, smeared by kids making fun of you, and eventually completely clouded over by serious disappointments and rejections. And here's the thing. When you're looking at the world through a filthy window, obviously everything looks gloomy. You literally lose sight of what's possible. So Keller had this light bulb moment. He realized he had to consciously clean his own mental window if he ever wanted to see possibilities again. It echoes a really profound truth about human agency, nailed perfectly by the philosopher William James. He pointed out that it's not the actual circumstances that dictate our reality, it's our attitude toward them. The attitude you choose is what dictates your ability to actually overcome those circumstances. Which brings us to Section 2, the hidden power of your text. Let's pop the hood and look at the hidden mechanics behind the words we're using every single day. The big paradigm shift here comes from Earl Nightingale's famous secret. We become what we think about. Our dominant thoughts literally dictate the physical reality we end up creating. Henry Ford said it brilliantly. Whether you think you can or think you can't, you're right. Your thought isn't just some passive observation about the world. It is an active instruction to your brain. Just look at this progression. It's like a row of dominoes. A single thought generates words. When you repeat those words, they solidify into deep subconscious beliefs. Those beliefs then automatically drive the actions you take, and those actions produce your life's results. It's that simple. If you want to change your results at the end of the line, you have to trace the dominoes all the way back to the words you're generating in step 2. Section 3. Beyond the literal meaning. This is where your everyday vocabulary stops being just dictionary definitions and becomes the actual programming code for your destiny. Okay, consider a bumper sticker like this one. I owe, so off to work I go. On a literal level, sure, it's just a cheeky little rhyme about paying bills, but you have to think of the text other than the literal meaning. Reading and repeating this phrase daily programs the subconscious mind with a totally different, non-literal directive. It's telling your brain, I am a debtor. I am permanently trapped. By just repeating this text, the driver is constantly reinforcing a negative belief system and perpetually attracting circumstances that keep them stuck in debt. And they're doing it every single time they walk up to their car. And you can see this in real time with how we answer a simple question like, how are you? Compare a mediocre, energy-draining response like, hanging in there or could be worse, against a powerful declaration like terrific. When you use mediocre words, your posture literally slumps. Your energy just bottoms out. But when you choose to say terrific, even if you honestly don't feel it yet, your physiology actually alters. You stand taller. You project vitality. Your vocabulary is physically changing your body's response on the spot.
For a really stunning example of this kind of reprogramming, look at Kent Cullers. He's a NASA physicist who happens to be completely blind, but listen to the words he uses to describe his blindness. He calls it a trivial affliction and just barely an inconvenience. That is incredible. He completely neutralizes what most people would consider a massive, life-altering obstacle just by consciously choosing words that frame it as a minor annoyance. He literally refuses to give the limitation any power over him, and as a result, he transcends it to achieve these massive scientific breakthroughs.
Section 4, directing your mental movies. So once you've got control of your vocabulary, the next step is deliberately constructing the mental movies that dictate your future.
And you can actually use physical text to force this paradigm shift. Take Jim Carrey. Long before he was famous, when he was just a struggling comic, he literally wrote himself a $10 million check for acting services rendered and post-dated it 5 years into the future. He kept this physical check in his wallet and looked at it every single day. To him, it wasn't just a piece of paper. It was the script for his mental movie. And wouldn't you know it, by the time 1995 rolled around, he was commanding $20 million a movie. The text anchored his belief, and that belief drove his unstoppable action.
But look, just visualizing the new script isn't quite enough. Section 5, the magic of commitment. You have to make an unconditional commitment to acting it out. What is true commitment? It's the mental attitude of being willing to take however many steps are required. If it takes 5 steps, you take them. If it takes 155 steps, you take them. As W.H. Murray pointed out, the moment you truly commit, providence moves too. It's almost miraculous. You start attracting the exact circumstances, the serendipitous meetings, the right people you need to succeed. It's not magic or luck. It's just your newly programmed mind actively hunting for the resources you instructed it to find. Now, this number right here, 14, is the perfect encapsulation of that commitment. This is the number of times Benjamin Roll took the California bar exam. Think about that. The exam is only offered twice a year, so he spent years and years facing straight rejection. By his 13th failure, he was 73 years old. I mean, almost everyone's internal voice would be screaming at them to give up by then. But his internal voice said, I will pass this if I live long enough. He took it a 14th time, finally passed, and became a lawyer at age 74. That is what true, unwavering commitment to your internal script actually looks like. And finally, Section 6, finding the hidden benefit. Executing this new script means we have to completely reframe how we read our inevitable failures. When a problem pops up, we can't just wallow in the misery of it. We have to actively look for the hidden benefits. Again, you've got to read the non-literal meaning of your adversity. Getting laid off? That might be the exact push you needed to finally start your dream business. A failed relationship? That just opens the door to a much healthier one. Adversity gives us perspective. It forces change and brings out potential we didn't even know we had. Like the source material says, a problem is usually just a rough road that leads directly to greatness. It all comes down to how you choose to interpret the meaning of that challenge. So we've seen how our words, our attitudes, and our commitments go so far beyond just their literal definitions. They are quite literally writing the code of our reality. So I'm going to leave you with this one crucial thought to mull over. Knowing everything we just talked about, what will the non-literal meaning of your words create for you today? It's time to clean that mental window, change your script, and just watch how your reality transforms.